Welcome to Wicked Laughs, a weekly podcast series that brings out the funny in everybody. And we are here today to do that. Wound right up, tighter than a bull's ass in fly season is my friend and special friend and co-host, Tom Hayes. My name is Bucky Lewis, here on the shores of Lake Guttapee here in New Hampshire. So, Tom, how are you?
Well, the not
Oh,
having
oh,
grown up in the North Country.
go ahead. I want to hear this one.
Okay, not
Usually,
having
usually,
grown.
no, I got to stop you. Usually, when people say "How are you," uh, you don't hear you know, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
No,
I'm
I
just
just
giving you
the bull's butt analogy just took me. I didn't know what to say.
that. Well, I got to tell you, I'm glad that we're starting out this way because it's we've been telling people and teaching people and showing people how to rediscover your funny bone and to get back to laughing, especially after this last year. Holy cow! Right? So, um,
I see bull, cow. To an inner city kid, Bucky, this is like wow, huh?
don't worry about it. It's okay. What I wanted to remark about that, I mean, you got to start from the beginning. It's all about attitude, isn't it, Tom? When you wake up in the morning, you're not feeling that well, and when you create a positive energy for the day, things are going to come to you that way. And so it's all a matter because you get that all the time. Two things always happen when you meet someone. You always say, "How are you?" And you say, "Well, the weather's looking good today, isn't it?" I mean, those kind of serial things, but the one that you can really start your day off right is you're asked, "How's your day?" And you can say all kinds of things. I don't know. Ask my therapist, right? And right, or how's your day? Well, my case comes up next week. How are you? The meds will kick in any minute.
As you said, old guys can't laugh without coughing.
Well, apparently they don't know how to wear hats either.
This is my lady friend Pauline's hat. She's a Marine. I found out something about Marines is you can't say ex-Marine. They are still Marines.
Yes,
So
yes, that's a good thing though. Um, oh, did you know today's a very special day? By the way, it's August 8th, 2021. This is the anniversary. A lot of people don't know this, but the left wing Democrats out there are lobbying for today to be a national holiday. You know why?
no.
This is the day that Richard Nixon resigned.
Boy, that we talk about a grand comedy. My God, that was just amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
A lot of people, yeah. I think our audience may remember that. I don't think we've got a lot of millennials tuning into two old guys.
well, as we speak, since we're so popular in Vietnam, this is being translated.
I would love to see the closed caption on us in Vietnam. By the way, how is Molly today? Is Molly with you?
Well, later on in the program, the
Gotta talk about Molly the dog. Is
Wonder
Molly with
Dog. Oh yeah, Molly's the
you?
Wonder Dog. It's right here next to me.
Wonderful, wonderful, and she's a great manipulator of props, as we
Yeah,
saw.
Men like the Three Stooges more than women do, and they love the slapstick stuff more than women do. And so we'll be talking about that too, which is going to be a challenging. I got to start doing homework already, but so with that said, Tom, I want to thank you for this. I think this was a very
Okay, we have ladies and gentlemen, we have a perfect example of incongruity right now. For some reason, Bucky's camera is doing a dance by itself.
no.
That is a camera behind you, isn't it?
Is it dancing? Oh.
Yeah, it did.
Well,
Bucky's dancing camera, folks.
this place is haunted, man.
See, and instead of seeing a perfect show, Bucky, we got a little incongruity.
Well, my dog's at my feet, and she.
Is that why the camera's bouncing?
Yeah, that's why. She did it on cue.
Well, it was perfect timing, Bucky.
I can't wait to see it myself because I'm looking at you. So with that,
See,
folks,
it comes up at the strangest times, does it?
At the perfect time, yeah.
And to think it's your dog. Your dog is good, smart dog, Bucky.
Good girl.
And we thought this was just going to be a mediocre gig. Little we know the dog knew how to trigger the camera. I started to notice I was getting into stand-up. I was doing mostly magic, and I started to find fodder for comedy, especially when I started to go into grocery stores and find worms in the dairy case. That is something that we didn't have in the city. It wasn't an option. And, I didn't know what the hell they were at first. It looked like cream cheese had gone bad.
That's funny.
And I would go up to the clerks and go, I don't know if you know this, but you've got some of the food has gone bad. You've got worms. And they would look at me and goes, and they got, well, you're not from around here, are you? and they, to them, it was like, how do you not have worms in the dairy case? Right? I mean,
right.
And the way they were advertised, big yellow signs in any convenience store, right? It's the first thing you see, worms, crawlers,
Yeah.
I'm down in southern New England and we see things like lobsters, clams, worms and crawlers on a feature lead.
But,
so, I mean, what do you find funny about living up there? And
what happens, Tom, in this business, and this is a great tip for you folks out there to do it every day. It's called retraining your brain. And so what you do is a lot of people have always said to me, a lot of people have said to you, how do you come up with this stuff? It's the way that you train your brain. It's like any motivational speaker you see on TV. Oh, wait a minute. You and I were motivational speakers and travel to do that. But if you start to retrain your brain with little things, you can find funny in anything, really, if you try to. And once you start getting going, it's like opening the faucet, right, Tom? Your brain starts to click and to say, well, if this is going to happen here, this can probably happen over here. That's how a joke is born. Well, one of the things that this area is known for are loons. And I mean, on Golden Pond was filmed not too far from here in Squam Lake, and we have loons all over the place here. And so people come up to me, especially people who don't know me, but also who probably are visiting. They say, have you seen the loons? It's sort of like going to the North Country and asking the natives up there, have you seen a moose? We want to see a moose. We want to see a loon. And they ask me inevitably, do you like loons? And I say, oh, they're delicious with onions and butter.
The old tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken. We get a lot of those we don't want to talk about either.
And what is the reaction? What is the reaction when you tell them you eat food?
They still don't get it. They still don't get it. It goes right over their head. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes on and on, don't you? And one of the things that's interesting about New Hampshire is no sense of a zoning law. You can have a mansion, and the guy next to you got a four
Well,
by
that
or
that's
a two.
all. That's all depends on the town you live in. That's what we do here in New Hampshire. Is live free or die, which is quite ironic. They put that in a license plate, and who makes those license plates, Tom? Right? But prisoners. But
Well, a lot of comics too talk about New Hampshire. Talk about the fact that there are liquor stores on the highways.
yeah, liquor stores and cops are up the street and down the street 2 miles from there. So
Yeah.
well, it's like up here too. Um, we went into, and this true story. 4th of July was coming, and my partner Tara Duffy, who's from Boston, and in Wicked Yankee Adventures, she wanted to go get some fireworks because her and her husband have a place on Cape Cod, and they were going to go celebrate with a bunch of fireworks down there. So we went up to Newport, where there are two Newport, New Hampshire, folks, where there are two fireworks stores. I mean, in a small town like Newport, two fireworks stores. So we go in there. She goes in there first, and she goes right up to the counter, and she says, "I want to buy a bunch of fireworks that I can bring down to Massachusetts." That's a true story. And I'm going, no, 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 no. You can't do that. They're illegal.
Yeah, have you got a few guns too? Well, speaking of Newport, well, first of all, I in my routine, I would say to people, I live in. I'll tell you how I got to Newport, New Hampshire. I saw an ad. It's just coming back to me. I've performed in 2 years. I saw an ad in the paper, a condo, Newport, 50 grand. I jumped on it. I just didn't know that there were more than one Newport.
Did you even see the town before you did that? I mean, no
well,
offense to Newport. I mean, Newport is coming back.
Woo.
All these old, right along the Connecticut River and the Connecticut River Valley, there used to be a bustling commerce with factories all over the place because at first the Connecticut River was basically the highway. They would go up and down the Connecticut River on boats and bring the logs down the river and whatever they did. And so all these towns like Newport, Claremont, they would all bring in, create factories in these towns, and the towns got bigger because of it. And then when that whole thing vanished, now you're left with these small towns that have all these brick buildings and stuff. Manchester, New Hampshire did okay with that, but they have a big technology center now with Dean came in. And so things do come back.
There's so much, people are trying to get out of the cities. They're working remotely to go to a place. That's, somebody, when I first went there, I went to a realtor in New London, and he said, I had some money to invest. He says, well, something here will cost you, in those days, it was almost 40 years ago. He says, will cost you $100,000. I can take you over to Newport and you get the same thing for half the price. And that's what I ended up doing, and that was part of my routine. Is like it's kind of like the Newport in Rhode Island. There's mansions there. They just happen to be satellite dishes. There's a giant gas station there's probably 2 or 3 noteworthy things in Newport. At least there were, and this one gas station is like a big mecca. And inside it was one of these super convenience stores with a bakery, etc. So you could go over into the where the muffins were, and they would have a bag, and a white bag, and you put the muffins in the bag. When you went to the counter, it was amazing the decorum or what of the counter people, and they would look at you and go in the most crazy, inquisitive, almost guilty tones, say to you, "What's in the bag?" And you're like, I just got a couple of muffins or whatever. So it used to really annoy me. One night I went there, came back from a gig. The place is packed. So they must have had an event at the Opera House. Place is packed deep. It must have been 30, 40 people deep. So I come up with a couple of next morning in the bag, and the gal is pestered by how many people are there, and she says, looks at me in this demanding tone, "What's in the bag?" And there's this silence fell over the place, and I said, "A kilo of cocaine." And funny. I turned around. Half the people ran from the place with their hands over their mouths. The rest of the place broke into laughter. And I said, but it's for those brainstorms you get. What the hell do you think is in the bag? Open the bag and look. There's a couple of muffins, lady.
Yeah, it's that's why Seinfeld was so successful. I was thinking about this last night. I used to love think tanks, especially when it came to comedy, because you got all these brilliant minds, and that's what the Coen brothers do for their comedies. That's when the Farrelly brothers do for their comedies. It's just when you get these things that happen. That's why Seinfeld was so popular. But it goes back, Tom, to our lesson for today: is if you start to you start to retrain your brain, you can start thinking that way out of the box in a different dimension.
Well, my mind, since starting that premise, imagine if I had taken a box of powdered sugar and dumped it in the bag and gone up to the counter with powdered sugar all over my face.
Folks, that's why Tom was never as funny as I was, because he tries too hard.
But it was so the place just froze when I just said a kilo of cocaine.
I'm surprised a bunch of people didn't come up and say, "Well, how much for a gram?" So I probably would have back then.
Yeah, so we get in trouble for thinking the way we do, but it leads to an exciting, crazy life.
Well, it's a crazy world out there, and each day is a gift from God. So you got to try to put a positive spin on it. I mean, everybody. I had a bad day yesterday, but I was determined to have a good day today, and I am having a good day today with my dog, my wonder dog Molly, with me, and I'm putting a cape on her after this, and I'm going to try to launch her. As the first time I put a cape on her, I brought her up to the overpass.
She wouldn't jump. She wouldn't cooperate. She wouldn't jump.
Well, I feel bad. I pushed her.
And that's why she's a super dog. She survives.
Yeah, but she's going to ride this small tricycle now.
You know that now Peter will be banning this podcast.
The lesson here is what we started to, and we're continuing to hammer into you folks. When you wake up and you're feeling okay, find a way to bust through that membrane and start to think funny and grow funny. And you'll rediscover your funny bone, and you'll start to retrain your brain. Like Tom's, I don't know where his brain's at. Maybe, when did you get back from the ship?
Yeah, and that's when you notice signs like it's right in front of you. Worms, crawlers. You got to think. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, that fishing joke, right? I'm going fishing. You got worms, yeah, but I'm going anyway.
Now Molly doesn't have you medicate Molly from heartworm and things like that, right?
I do, and I put a helmet on her. And,
now that would be a great prop. A helmet.
Well, she's got a working dog vest too. A helmet on a working dog. Well, it's like that blind joke, right? Blind guy goes in the store, he starts whipping his dog around, and the and the clerk comes up and says, "What are you doing?" Says, "Just looking around."
Well, I was part of the handicap skiing program over in Sunapee, which is the next town to Newport. And they used to ask me to do, a few jokes at the banquets. And, I would notice that I used to always talk about the blind skiers. Uh, and I said, I just always felt so bad for the dogs trying to keep up with their masters rolling down the hills.
With that, we're going to wrap up here. Tom, this has been good. You said it off screen that we always come up with something, and this has been a fun one too. So, on behalf of my great special friend, speaking about helmets, Tom Hayes, I'm your host for today's comedy podcast for Wicked Laughs. My name is Bucky Lewis on the shores of beautiful Lake Guttapee here in New Hampshire. Join us next time.
Yeah, fun. That was great, Bucky. Thank you.
All right, bye bye.